Okay, so today we are doing a closet review for River City Resellers. First things first, let's thank them for giving us the opportunity to review their closet. I always love doing these just because I think that it really gives people a chance to see kind of what other people are doing and give other people some kind of ideas on how to make their store potentially better. So again, thanks to River City Resellers for letting us review your closet. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. As you'll see, I've got all my tabs across the top here open. You'll notice that I keep referencing this page here. This is just all my notes and just a way for me to make sure that I am covering all the information that I intended on covering for you. So if you see me bouncing back and forth as we're doing, you will get this Google Doc sent over to you as well, so you'll have it to reference. So first things first, I went to River City Reseller, and I promise you I'm going to mess that up. I'm going to slip up 1,000 times and get tongue-tied over that. But the first thing that I'm seeing here, just going onto the page, is all of these very uniform logos, the banners, all these great featured categories. I love that it's like one central theme. It's all the same colors. It's all the same kind of general aesthetic. I just thought that was really interesting. I think the last couple of closet reviews I've done, I've seen that on both. And I just think that that's honestly really cool. A lot of times I see a bunch of different kind of random things put on here, especially with the featured categories. And I love that these really match up with the rest of the theme that you have. Another thing that I like to look at is the About section. So let's click there. And I'm not going to read this word for word because I think you guys are capable of reading that on your own. But I love that you guys really go into a detail of who you are, where you're at, how you got your name, really what you're focusing on. I love that you say we're playing matchmaker for abandoned items. Like, how much better can you say that you're reselling, right? And I just love that you're very, I love that you are very, almost romanticizing finding it. So you put we play matchmaker for abandoned items and their future soulmates. And I don't know, that got me. I thought it was good. From quirky gadgets to fabulous fashion finds. You clearly have a very good way of really, I guess, verbalizing what reselling is in a way that I think makes people really happy to do it. So I was really excited to see that. I love that you are, again, a top-rated seller, so it shows them here that you're putting all of your time in. And I don't know, I really like it. So we're going to go into the actual items. I covered the overall here. We're going to go into actual photos so I can show you kind of what I'm seeing as far as photos go. So this is just currently all of your sold. So let me go back to unsold listings. Give me a second here. And we'll see all the items that you currently have listed. I do have this filtered to newly listed. So right now you have 159 results. Not going to lie, I pulled most of my information yesterday, so it's possible that you either listed or sold some items. Looks like you have listed this one since I've done the information. So my numbers might be a little bit skewed just because, like I said, I did pull this information yesterday morning, but they'll be similar enough that you'll be fine. As far as seeing photos, your items do take up the majority of every single frame that you're doing. I love that. Again, it is taking up most of the space. The color seems to be pretty consistent. I did notice like a couple, maybe this one's a little bit darker and then you see this one and it's lighter. You can in this photo see a little bit of like maybe a yellowing light above it. But honestly, like the lighting in all your photos looks pretty consistent and pretty the same. You can notice occasionally, like on these three, that the floor color is a little bit different. That might sway the color of the item. It might also be kind of swaying the color of the floor because of the color of the item as well. So sometimes you'll notice in ours, we will do rugs. If we have items that kind of need some variance or are hard to hang on the wall or so on and so forth, we'll do a flat lay for them. And sometimes the rugs look completely different just depending on what's on it. So it could be that way as well. But generally, like I said, photos take up all the frame. They look pretty good lighting wise. There's not a whole lot in the background. They're clean and crisp. I love this like countertop one. I don't know why, but I just really love those. So they do look really good. I did know in some of your items, I went through each one of the photos. It looks like you have a front, then it's like a somewhat close up, a tag photo, an arm measurement. You show the roll tab, you have the missing button, so you have the flaw, a back photo, the inside tags, which I love that you show the inside tags, and I love that you're including some measurements. We'll go into the actual listings and some suggestions that I have, but as far as like looking through photos on these, honestly, like your photos all look pretty clean and concise. So overall, I'm going to give you a 10 out of 10 on photos. There was one, and I don't know if I'll be able to find it now that I noticed. Oh, here it is. You have stock photos for. Generally, we are not a fan of stock photos. I know that's like a big conspiracy theory, and every time we bring it up, everybody's like, well, you do what you want. It's your store. 100%. It is your store. You make the decision that you would like to. What I will tell you is that it is frowned upon on eBay unless you pull them out of their catalog. There's no way of me being able to tell unless I did some pretty extensive research whether you pulled that out of their catalog or not. But I can tell you in general, stock photos are frowned upon, which is honestly kind of unfortunate sometimes because I think sometimes that gives you the truest look of what an item is going to look like. And I can't tell you how many messages we get from people that are like, well, can you try it on? Well, no, not everything's going to fit us, you know? Plus, we're just not into modeling. But I see why you're using them. I would just tell you to tread very carefully with that because especially on eBay, there can be some issues with copyrights. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to touch on it anymore. We're not going to go to the comments about it. We're just going to move on. Okay. So I picked a few items. There are these 3 here across the top. And I'm going to kind of compare your titles. Overall, your titles just generally appear to be kind of short. So just quick looking on here, they do tend to look a little bit short. But honestly, it's kind of hard to tell for sure. So what I did is I picked 3 items and I'm comparing your title to what I would probably write it as if I was going to write the title. So the bolded ones here are just copied and pasted yours over. And then the ones below them are what I would write. That doesn't mean that what I would write is better or worse by any means. It's just giving you another suggestion for how you can write them. Honestly, your titles seem pretty good. Like it seems to me like you have everything in your title that I would probably put. It just seems like they might be a little, I guess, off as far as readability. So we're going to go read through this. So it's just Torrid shirt women's 5XL, 5 French bulldog blouse top, plus size roll up sleeve. Again, I think everything you have here is 100% probably what I would put in there, just maybe not in that order. I would focus on using the same information that you're already using and maybe convert that to be a little bit more user-friendly, a little bit more readable. So I would put Torrid women's 3/4 sleeve blouse, size 5X, white, black, bulldog, V-neck, roll sleeve. And I think that would take care of a lot of that. When I looked at your titles, you had 76 characters, 73 characters, and 74 characters. Honestly, all pretty good. Though they look short, they weren't actually super short. So I think that was just kind of a fluke as far as how they look. Same thing here, $178 Lily Pulitzer Janice Sutace shift dress, floral stretch size small. All the same things I would probably use, but I would probably change it around. I would put Lily Pulitzer women's Janice Sutace, I'm gonna butcher that, shift dress size small, sleeveless multicolor. I think by limiting spelling out the entire size, you're going to get more characters where you can put more items and more descriptions into your titles. Same thing here. Free people, lights down, rolled sleeve, leg pants, laurel green, size medium. I put free people women's, lights down, rolled pants, size medium, straight leg, green, and they're belted. Though I think it's sometimes important if it's a specific color and it's a high valued color, to put the color in different titles, especially like specific ones like laurel green. When I looked and comped these free people pants, all the ones, let's see if they're still up here, all the ones that had sold and were currently available, these are yours, were all either the black or this like whatever this gold color is. So to me, this does not seem to be like a valuable color. So I probably would have skipped putting the laurel green and just went to green. But again, this is all personal preference. Honestly, everything that's in your title to me seems pretty good. I mean, there's a few things here and there, but honestly, I think they're pretty top notch. Again, I would just focus on readability. So listing details, we're going to go through each one of these listings and kind of look through the things that I've seen. So the first one we'll look at is Torrid. I love that you accept returns. Again, another conspiracy theory that like is a whole topic of conversation that drags us in the weeds. So we're not going to go into it, but I do appreciate it. Just looking at your drop downs, pattern, I can tell you dog is not an option on pattern, so I can tell that you typed that in. Rayon is not an option on the material. It's a material type, but not an actual material. Viscose would be what you would want to put here. So again, it's hand typed. The rest of this seems okay. Regular fit, size type is plus. It's a blouse. The only thing I'm seeing here is shoulder pads. This item, from what I can tell, does not have shoulder pads in it. So I would definitely take that out because honestly, unless it's like a vintage item, shoulder pads tend to kind of date or age an item. So I would take that out. Looking over this Lily Pulitzer one, same thing. Let's scroll to the bottom. Sleeveless, good. V-neck, yeah. Multicolor, knee length, regular shift stretch, all good. Floral, zip, cotton, polyester, spandex, okay. Lily Pulitzer, yeah. Women's, if you wanted to do a theme as a flower, fine. I don't see any issues with that. I did check out your shipping on all your items, and it looked like all your shipping was good from what I could tell. Obviously, there's no scale photos, so I can't guarantee that it's in first class dimensions, but it probably is. I mean, just from what we've seen in the past. We'll look at this one here. Solid green, casual. Fabric type is down. This is not down. And I'm assuming it's because it was lights down and as the style name. And eBay sometimes autofills things, so I would definitely correct this or you're going to end up having that in the wrong drop down. High rise, regular women's, again, model number light down. I can tell you that that's not in the model. So I can guarantee that was written in as well. Also, these materials with exact percentages were written in. So here's my notes on it. There are some things that are definitely being hand typed into the drop downs. I'm going to go into kind of a conversation on why you don't typically want to have handwritten options in the drop downs. So say for instance, you're searching on eBay. Let's just go to eBay. Okay. Let me just search like women's, I don't know. Let's search Torrid, right? Torrid, women's, button front, top, size 1X, okay? So this is what I would search if I'm looking for maybe a shirt for myself, okay? And then I'm going to decide, okay, what kind of sleeve do I want it to be? Do I want it to be sleeveless, short sleeve, 3/4 sleeve, long sleeve, whatever? Say, for instance, I typed in 3/4 sleeve, but didn't click the option. Or I typed in half sleeve maybe, right? Because maybe it's not a short sleeve. Maybe it's not a 3/4 sleeve. It's a half sleeve. That's not going to give me the option. So the buyer doesn't have the chance to pick that even if you're hand typing it in. If you don't specify, you don't have an option, then you could click that as not having an option. but it's a lot harder for them to find. Same thing with these, right? So if you're typing in your own items, it's not a box. Maybe I don't care about the sleeve, but I'm like, okay, I want this to be red, right? This is if you type red, if you select red in the category as red, it gives you these options. If you hand type red with maybe an additional space and don't actually click it and add it as a custom, it doesn't show up in this. And I know that was one of your questions that you had for us, was how to get your items to be more discoverable. You talked about having some issues with not necessarily selling things as fast as what you were wanting to. And I think that this could honestly play a part into it. I would only fill out items if you absolutely have the drop down. If you don't, I wouldn't even waste your time filling them out. I would just move on. Like the pattern with the dog. If dog is not a pattern, then I would either pick it as like a polka dot because it's kind of close. That's probably what I would consider the most closely representing, or I would skip it all together and just say none of this applies and I'm moving on. So I talked about the torch shoulder pads. We talked about the rayon pattern dogs, lights down model, hand typing and materials. You could put those percentages for the free people pants into the description just down here so that they have it. I don't know. Yeah, you have the tag photos here as well. I mean, so they can ultimately view it if they'd like to view it, just to kind of give them an idea. But I don't think it's a make it or break it. The only other thing I would add on here in general is maybe add some stuff to your descriptions at the bottom rather than just the titles. You could put something additional about flaws. If there's no flaws, you could put something additional about that laurel green. Things like that you'd like to add but maybe might not have room in your title for. I would 100% be putting those in your descriptions just to give your buyers a little bit more information. I think, again, all the information you have is like top notch. It's just where you're putting it or how you're orienting it. And I think you're very close to like top notching it. So buyer demand, I'm going to go through buyer demand on the items that I searched. It's these same three here. So Torrid, there was one used available, one sold, 100% sell-through rate. I would get it. Lily Pulitzer, there were 11 used and 10 sold. Again, it's Lily Pulitzer. It's a higher dollar item. It was multicolored. I would still probably get it. It is not technically 100% sell-through rate, but it's very close. We're in season. I feel like since we're kind of moving into that transition, it would be worth picking up. And then the Free People pants, there's not a whole lot available on. Everything that was listed was new, but the new ones did have a decent sell-through rate. So as having one used available, which was one beyond your own, and then having 0 sold, I would probably still have picked it up to risk it on those. But again, it would be a risk. So I'm not sure how much you paid for these items, but if this was something you paid a lot for, I probably would have skipped. If it was like a couple bucks, I probably would have picked it up knowing that I could risk it. I do think you'll sell those. And honestly, I would have risked it on those as well. So available listings, as I said, some of this might have changed. Yeah, you have 159. When I looked yesterday, you had 160. So you sold something. Whoop, whoop. Congratulations. We go to filter to solds. You have 133 solds. So I had 135 yesterday. Again, think about this as it's only storing 90 days. So you probably sold more technically 91 days ago than you technically sold within now the last 90. Totally fine. So I'm going to stick with the numbers I did yesterday because I already wrote them out. So 135 were sold in the last 90 days. I divided that by 3 to get 45 sales in the last 30 days. If you divide down the number of listings you have available by the number of what you've sold in the last 30 days, you have a 28% sell-through rate for the last 30 days, which is honestly really good. The goal is to have 10%. You do always have to take into consideration other platforms. This is River City Resellers only platform. And honestly, that's a really good percentage. You're off to a really good start. I would just continue to focus on the sell-through rate and make sure that that's exactly what you continue on. And that way you can keep that percentage where you'd like it. The other thing I looked at was pricing. So Torrid, I did my comps on. You priced it at 21. I would have priced it at about the same for 20. Lilly Pulitzer, you priced at 65. I probably would have priced at 50. Again, it's not 100% sell-through rate. It's close, but it is a smaller size. And to guarantee a quick sale, I would probably go ahead and accept it at 50. You could technically price it a little bit higher if you wanted to, knowing you're going to accept an offer. But again, I would plan on marking that about 50. And then for the Free People pants, all the ones that sold were new, and they were selling for $35. So I would plan on marking them for $35, again, knowing that you might have to take a little bit less. Your price online currently is $40. So pricing isn't super far off. Maybe on this Lilly Pulitzer, I can totally see why you priced it high. But ultimately, I do think we should lessen that down a little bit just to, again, guarantee that sale. They range, those Satache dresses range from like 30 to 65. I think we should go more for middle of the line on that, just because of the smaller size. One other thing you asked me about was feedback, the amount of feedback that you're getting. I'm going to be fully honest with you. We don't really pay attention to the amount of positive reviews that we get. The only thing we're paying attention to is neutrals and negatives. So if something like that would happen, obviously we would want to address that with the customer. We'd want to make it right. We would ask them to make a correction, like we would refund them, whatever we had to do to make it right. Okay. That's like our biggest policy, is whatever we have to do to make the customer happy. That being said, we do not focus on the amount of positive reviews we have. If you look at the amount of positive feedback we have been given versus the amount of items we've sold, they do not correspond at all. Some people will like send messages and say, please leave me feedback. But honestly, if for some reason you left that buyer with a bad taste in their mouth, there's a possibility that they are going to rate you and it's going to be negative, where maybe they went ahead and moved on. So we don't push it. We just, if they want to leave it, they leave it. If they don't, they don't. I don't think a buyer necessarily looks to see how many positive reviews you have. It's just, again, whether you have any neutrals or negatives. So I did take a look at your feedback. And what I'm seeing here is you do have one neutral within the last 6 months. It is here. It was about condition, saying that when you pictured it, it didn't look as used as what it was. Again, I think that this is honestly probably just, maybe I shouldn't say it like this, but a buyer that's being a little picky. I think it's going to happen. I'm not sure if you reached out on this. I know it's too late now because it is over 90 days, but this would be something that I would reach out to that buyer. And maybe you have, I don't know. We haven't had a conversation about this, but I would probably have reached out to them and said, hey, I see that you're unhappy with your item. Can I offer you a refund or even a partial refund? Or, something along those lines. And then maybe they'll change it and maybe they won't, but you'll at least feel good about what you did. As far as the rest, when I looked at all the positive feedbacks that you had, it was that they loved the items, they were great deals, they were in excellent condition, like they knew what they were getting. It was a fast transaction, and that shipping was really quick. So I think that that's a really good thing for you as far as feedback goes. The other thing I wanted to talk about was consistency. So inconsistency for the last couple of weeks. I know you said you were trying to list 1 to 2 items each day. So it looks like occasionally you are listing the 2 items, but then you've got a day of 6, a day of 3, a day of 1, a day of 16, a day of 7. On these days of 16s and 7s and 6s, if you're only planning on listing 2 a day, I would plan on using that as a bank and spread them out further, or also potentially increasing the amount that you're listing every single day. Because it does seem like you are getting through some listings, and you could grow your business a lot faster by listing more each day. So I would definitely recommend on evaluating how many you're going to be able to consistently list each day and spread them out. I would keep a bank just a little bit in case something happens. But again, I think you are being consistent. Every day that I looked, you had something listed, which is top notch. Good job. But definitely might even that playing field just a little bit more. As always, I am tongue-tied while I'm trying to have this closet review with you. Takeaways for today, I would organize a little bit more. That's just like a general encompassing of the entire store. Maybe order your photos a little bit more. I noticed when I was looking through them that they seem to be a little bit kind of out of order. For us, we like to always do the first photo of the front. We always like to do the back photo next. We like to do measurements next, which I think that you have an opportunity for some additional photos for measurements. And I think that, again, not make it or break it for you, but I do think that there is some opportunity on that, and just like orienting them to be in the same order every single time you're doing a photo. So as the buyers are shopping, if they're shopping just your store, when they're looking at the item, they know what they're getting, they know what's coming next, and they can kind of get in a routine. But again, that's me being very nitpicky, because honestly, your closet's good enough that I feel like you need it to be nitpicky. Titles, same thing. You've got everything in the titles that you should have, mostly just orienting them so that they are more readable for the buyer. Everything you've got in there, again, top notch, it's good. You've got the details. You've really figured it out. Just making it a little bit more buyer user friendly. I would avoid typing in the drop downs to get buyers to your item. If you're having issues with getting your items sold, I 100% think that that will take care of most of those issues. And then I would work on the consistency of daily listings. So just average those out a little bit more, and help to get those on a more even playing field. That's all I have for River City resellers. Again, we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to do your closet review, and we hope that you guys enjoyed this, both River City resellers and those of you on YouTube that are watching. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.